All right, let's run through making this panel. We'll start out with the outside edges and then we'll move our way in. So let's go to File, New, Family, and I'm going to go to the English because we're using metric and get the generic model adaptive. Open that up and let's reset the background to white. I don't like that. And then I'm going to go to my reference level and put out 4 points because this is going to be a 4-point component. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm just going to grab these guys and make them adaptive. And then sort of make sure I'm within reason and proportion of like how big I want this guy to be. So maybe something about like that and something about like that. And just kind of getting them lined up with each other. They don't have to be a specific distance, right? Because these points are going to suck down to whatever you want them to. So just get it in about the right proportion that you think your panel is going to be. Not a bunch bigger or a bunch smaller. Now I go to reference line and I'm going to connect all of these with a reference line, and I want this guy, so I go reference line and then set it to draw on face, and I'm going to turn on 3D snapping. So I really want to connect to these points and not let go. So line there, hit escape to stop the chaining, and then it will continue to draw a line there, and then a line here to there, and here to there. I'm doing it like that so that they'll all be oriented the same way. Then if I go to 3D, I'll have this guy, and you can check if you want to make sure that they're all sticking, you know. So that's the point, is to have everything host to these adaptive points. Now I'll do the sweep. So I'm going to put a point on here, making sure that this says draw on face, so it will host to this line. So I'm going to draw a point to make a plane so I can make a profile to sweep around those lines. So if you do that, you should be able to pick it and move it, and it will only move on that line, right? Okay, so now I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to set that. So I'm going to go to set, that current, and you can do show, but if you're really close it just makes everything blue. There's a little show plane, but I'm just going to go to reference and rectangle after I set it and make sure that it's on draw on work plane and that 3D snapping is off, because I want this guy to not snap to any geometry. I just want it to be hosted on this plane, right? And so I'm going to kind of draw this guy in here, and then I'm going to center it. So I'm going to pick this and move this guy from there to there, and then I'm going to move it from there to there. Just get it centered however you want. Then I'm going to create an align dimension from here to here. Oh, it's kind of big. Let me reset my scale down here, and then I'll go to create align dimension. 1, 2, 3, and I want to equal that out, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, and then I'll equal that out, and then I can do an overall dimension from the line to line. I'll pull that out here, and an overall dimension from line to line, and I'll pull that down here, and then I can use these two dimensions and select them and to create a parameter. So I'm just going to create a parameter, and I'm going to call this tube size. Hit enter, and then I'm going to come into my family types dialog box, and you'll see that tube size is here. So if you wanted a 25% tube size, 25 millimeter tube size, you can just change it real quick. Looks like I need to make this even smaller, so I'll go to 1 to 5. So we've got that little guy. Now we can actually pick this and hold down the control key and pick the chain of lines and create form, and it'll shoot that around, and I can control the size of that. So the next thing I want to do is go in and put the crossbar in here, and then the vertical crossbar in here. So I'm just going to come in here and hide this guy, and I'm going to place a couple of points. One, making sure it's on draw on face, one here and one here, and then I'm going to draw a reference line using 3D snapping to join those together, and then I'll place another point right on the midpoint of that line. So now I want to control where these guys are because it's a little cattywomper. So I'm going to pick that point and I'm going to put a parameter on the percentage of distance it is from that point. And we can change this later to a segment length if you need to. But you just click on this little gray box and I'll call this P1 frame. All right, click OK. Click OK. And now I can pick this one and assign the same parameter to it by clicking on this gray box. And because I oriented my lines the same way, they'll go to the same place. Now I can actually come in here and just set this to 0.25. All right, and click OK. All right, so now I can come in and let's put another point here. Let's just get all this done at once. And then I'll do another reference line with 3D snapping on that will make this centerpiece right here. And so now what I can do, I need a couple of profiles here and a couple of profiles here. For some reason, when you have one line, you have to have two profiles. When it closes on itself, you only need one. So I'm going to pick this guy and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to get rid of constrain and I'm just going to copy it over here. And then let's copy it again. I'll do multiple. Let's get rid of the constraint again. We'll do 1. Boy, it likes to constrain that thing, doesn't it? 2 and 3. And then what I can do is I can come in and pick this point and I can pick new host. So I'm going to pick that host and then I'll pick this point, and because the rectangle, pick new host. Boy, those are really tall. That's annoying that it did that, but I don't know. I guess I can ignore it for now. I'll just have to live with it. So now I'll do it for these guys. So pick this point, pick new host. It certainly saves a lot of time in terms of putting those dimensions on, and pick new host. And then what I'm going to do is select this guy, select that guy, and create form. And then I'll pick this guy and this guy and create form. Now they're not going all the way, but all you need to do is come in and pick the point, which is kind of hard to see. I'm going to window around it. Or you could go to wireframe. But the point is right in there, so I'm just windowing around it, right? And if you get that point, you can set it to 0, and it'll go to the end of that line. Same thing for this one, so I'll come in and window around and get that point, and I'll set that to 1. Right, so it's just going to the end of the line. Same for these guys. So just get the point, however you want to get it, and set that to 0, and then set this one to 1. And I'm not putting parameters on these because they're probably not ever going to change. I don't really need to control them. And then once you've done that, you can come in, and if you want to, you can join this with that, right? And it should, let's go ahead and reset a temporary height isolate. And then you can join this with this, and it should clean up those intersections. All right, so I'm going to save this, and then when we come back, we'll do the rest of it. I'll save it as 4 point. Yeah, let's just do it as 4 point pergola base. We'll save over that one. Yep.